Welcome back in the elevator. Oh, yeah. That's a triple high seltzer, no free ads. It's time for Elevator Pitch, the only podcast on the internet and Earth pitching fake movies to Dakota Johnson.
Ow!
In the future. Or any year you want.
Yeah.
It's one of those we don't set a year. I'm here with Chris Martin of Coldplay.
Stop it.
What's happening, brother?
No, they're actually, they consciously uncoupled.
Yeah, they're not
together. It's sad. But anyway, I'm here with Will Peters.
Hey, I found out that she was with Dakota Johnson, was with Chris Martin.
Okay.
I
I don't think you said that right.
I found out that Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin were dating.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately 3 days before I then found out they were separated.
Oh, really? They've been together for like 8 years.
I know. I apparently I was out of the loop.
Are you a big Coldplay guy?
Not any more than your average cold head. I like them.
Dude,
I like Life in Technicolor, part 1 and 2.
Part 1 and 2. The outro song for Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian.
Exactly. Amy Adams in
Ben
tow.
Ben Stiller's like, I wanted to hook up with Amelia Earhart, and you're not Amelia Earhart because they're in the future now.
Right, obviously.
But you kind of look like Amelia Earhart, so I think we should go out.
That's kind of turning me on.
And Amy Adams is just like, I know exactly what you're putting down right now.
I'm picking up exactly what you're putting down.
I used to roll the dice,
Sorry, what?
feel the fear in my enemy's eyes.
Oh, so Chris Martin's here?
Yeah.
Wow, Chris.
They seem like they had a very conscious, similarly to, because they would go on vacation with Gwyneth Paltrow and her husband.
Who's her husband?
I forget his name.
Dougie?
He's like a dude.
Okay.
But like they would all four of them, because Chris Martin and Gwyneth Paltrow used to be married, so they would like all four go on like vacations. Yeah,
wow.
it was a pretty interesting scene.
It's like a bigger splash.
It's bigger Splash-esque.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway,
Let's wrap this up.
Including the me part?
Yes.
Brad Falchuk.
Brad Falchuk, that is his name.
Okay.
Yeah. What does he do? Do you got that there too?
Yeah, it says he married in 2019.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fabulous.
He's the heiress to Goop. All right. Well, we're talking about Dakota Johnson today.
Yes.
Because The Materialists came out.
Yes.
Written and directed by Celine Song, who was nominated for an Academy Award for Past Lives just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
With Greta Lee and John Magaro. I rewatched Past
forget.
Lives a few weeks ago.
Good for you.
Still's great.
Yeah.
But The Materialists came out.
It did.
And
Drop the. It's cleaner.
yeah. Materialists. That's what
It really does feel like it should be The Materialist, though. Does it
I think
not?
it is. It is.
It's just Materialist.
Oh, it's just Materialist?
It's just capital M Materialist. There's no the.
That's very minimalist for The Materialist right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's forgotten her own thesis.
But no, seriously, back to business here. This movie does star Dakota Johnson as well as Chris Evans and Pedro Pascal.
Yes. And John Magaro.
Is he the voice of like Paul G or whatever that guy's name is? Yeah, I knew I heard Magaro there.
You sure did.
Anyway, so Will, I know you saw this over the weekend, and I think you're about to come in here and with a machete on this movie. Tell me if my suspicions are true or not.
I thought that this movie was odd. Very odd. I thought that this movie, and I can't even say I won't say I hated the movie either.
Right.
I felt like it
That's
went
better than I
by.
thought. Yeah.
I felt like I feel like it did move. I've seen some people say that they felt like it was a real slog. I felt like it moved pretty well. I just think that this movie is too complicated for its own good. I think that what it's trying to do, I also think that it thinks it is smarter than it may be.
Oh my God.
I think that all the performances are fine.
This isn't the UN. You could really let it on.
I'm just. It's a weird movie because it left me confounded. Because I also was really, really anticipating this movie. I was very excited for this movie. I really like Past Lives.
We're really big on song.
Yeah.
we were. Yeah, we've sung her praises
And
on this pod before.
I'm not dropping stock
Or the
or the ever. Or I guess somebody already did. But
Me.
I just think that the movie is, and it's clearly trying to riff on a certain type of movie.
Yeah.
But for me, the movie, something was amiss from the opening frame. Like it was the whole like the caveman thing.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice.
To me, that is like that movie. This script is like every classic rom-com has like a little thing, a quirky thing. Like when Harry Met Sally, you start on these two people on a couch and it's like, I fell in love with him when I was dead.
Yeah.
And now I'm alive.
And then I saw him at the funeral. I was with Sheila at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's a really fun like way to get us into this movie. And it like kind of, we're like peeling back the layers of what this type of movie is. And when a movie like When Harry Met Sally, it's kind of like almost like establishing those rules too, in a way. It's like creating the template that this movie and so many others have tried to like to riff on in a way. This movie, because it's just clearly not, I don't think it's trying to have any fun. I think that, and that's fine. The movie can be sterile, but I thought the movie was really sterile.
Hard disagree. Hard disagree. I don't think this is a perfect movie. I think that there's definitely times when Celine Song was kind of finding her bearings whilst working in genre in general. I mean, Past Lives is not a genre movie at all.
No, yeah. I mean,
and it doesn't follow like the 8-sequence structure very much as well too. She comes from like experimental play. I mean, she put on a version of, I think it was like The Crow or something with characters in Sims during COVID. I mean, she's out there. She's out there as a writer. But I think for the most part, my review of this movie is fuck y'all. This shit worked. All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think worked?
This movie's got either no heat to it or it's pissing people off. And my review of this movie is fuck y'all, that shit hit.
Wow. What really works for you with the movie? Like
Okay,
what does make it sing? What sings the song?
No, I really thought that like it took the, and I don't think this was a When Harry Met Sally type of romantic comedy within its structure. I think it definitely was within its like, let's dive into, gender politics and class and all that. I mean, that's definitely Nora Ephron-esque. But the structure of this movie is, a period drama. It's, what's the Daniel Day-Lewis Scorsese movie?
Age of Innocence.
It's Age of Innocence. It's Sweet Home Alabama, if you want to go into like the more schlocky 2000s rom-coms. It's using all of those familiar beats of like, she's from this world and he's from this world and she's supposed to be with him. Patrick Dempsey in Sweet Home Alabama, but she really wants to, I mean, they're using tropes, and I think that's when sometimes Celine Song like was like a little heavy-handed with those tropes, for sure. But for the most part, I thought it infused like an incredible amount of like contemporary conversation, is that the word, into these tropes that I thought completely pushed the genre of romantic comedies forward. And I think part of the reason that, and this isn't your thoughts, but a lot of the thoughts that have come out of this, where it's like, these characters, I didn't really like a lot of them, or I didn't find it very romantic at all. Like kind of that, maybe that sterilization of kind of maybe the sterile nature of what you're talking about. But for the most part, I thought that it was so intentional in a lot of its characterizations in this movie. And like Celine Song is never afraid in Past Lives in this movie of kind of putting a mirror on the audience and being like, I'm critical of you as well, but you're not going to genuinely understand. I'm not going to have the conventional opinions on human nature that you might think I do. And I look back at Past Lives when we talk about, what's John McGarve's character's name again? I forget it, but like the husband of Greta Lee. When I saw that movie and I was like laughing at how kind of wimpish they characterized him. And he's playing the video games. He's like koala bear cuddling her. And I was looking at it like, this guy's like ridiculous, like they're trying to like play this up so she should be with the other guy, but she can't. And then I heard an interview with her and she's like, to me, that's really manly the way he handled that. And I'm just like, you're just an unconventional thinker. And it definitely played into this movie where I think you could come out of this being like, I don't like Dakota Johnson. She's a materialist. No, but she's like, it's like, are we really saying that like, this is what people should be stressed out about? The material nature of like, I can't be with you because you're a broke actor versus this woman who's like, I need to find a man who makes north of $200,000 a year, and like,
Right.
You know, she's admitting like I'm a bad person, all that. Like I can't help myself that I think about this, and like all of that is not necessarily a critique on her and making her is not antagonizing her. I think Celine Song actually genuinely has a lot of respect for people like that.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a rom-com that is about a lot of like real people, I think. And real people aren't as romantic comedies usually make them out to be. And I think that like what separates like a new Netflix rom-com that genuinely to me is far more sterile and The Materialist is like she's really trying shit in this movie. And it doesn't all work, but I think enough of it works where I'm like, I think this movie so far is really misunderstood and is going to age really, really well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Defend The Materialist. That's me.
I think for the movie, to me, the whole thing is just like a miscalculation. Like I think that there's.
I see why because it is a little square peg round hole-ish.
I think to me the whole thing is a miscalculation in the sense that like because ultimately the argument is like if you're on Celine Song's camp and her way of thinking, she's trying to say like you can give the audiences basically what A24 is trying to sell you. A24 is trying to sell you. It's 2002. Here's 3 hot people. You're going to have 100 minutes of great times.
I thought the marketing in this movie was kind of rough now that
I think
saw what it
the
is.
marketing actually in hindsight is insane.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
To go in and, spoiler alert, 30 minutes in for the movie, then to have the driving force of how Dakota Johnson's character unfolds.
You mean the assault?
Be that one of her clients was assaulted.
Yeah, by the way, can I pause for a second? This is a movie about Dakota Johnson. She plays a high-end matchmaker in New York.
Yes.
Pedro Pascal, she recruits as a client, and then they end up having a relationship. But it is all kind of coming as she reconnects with her ex-boyfriend, who's a broke actor.
Yes.
That's the log line.
Yes.
Anyway, continue.
And
I just
Dakota
wanted to put some context
Johnson's matchmaker character has a client that she's trying to set up that she is like, she's a really nice girl, but you know, I just don't know who to set her up with. She sets her up with a guy
Yeah.
who it turns out then assaults her. And that this woman who is
And they described her. I mean, there's a big part of this movie where they're describing. I love this part. They're describing everyone by their material assets, you know. And they call her, what do they call, like a low level client, because she's basically a 6 out of 10
she's like a really nice person.
in all categories,
Yeah.
but she doesn't have
Standout.
a one standout quality. Yeah.
The character is Sophie, played by who I thought was played by
great
Zoe Winters.
performance.
I thought she was
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
very good. And 30 minutes into this movie, where in the first 30 minutes, it's still kind of toeing the line of like, this is a rom-com. You know, there are some jokes there, even though as they were happening, I was like, these are timed oddly.
I
like,
laughed a lot in this movie, by the way.
it was, I wasn't laughing a ton. I was like, it was just, everything was just like, the timing was just off. It was like, anytime I thought that basically any of my impulses for a movie, it would then I'd be like, that's almost like the opposite. Where I'm like, this must be like intentional of like Celine Song is like she's tuned in to what she thinks people are expecting, also what A24 is selling this movie on, which is 3 hot people in the big city. Who's she gonna go with? Rich guy, poor guy?
Yeah, but they're using the over conventionality, is that a word, of a rom-com. And they literally had a voiceover trailer, which I loved. And they're like using cutesy fonts and all this kind of stuff to basically push a genre into a place where it has not been before.
Yeah.
Which I can't say that like is them. I can't say that that's like a bad idea almost. Like you have to go somewhere with genres, you know? And I think that when I say going somewhere with genres, I don't mean taking what I think a lot of times you see now, which is like the misdirection, you know? You think this is a rom-com. Oh,
Yeah.
But it's, you know, like Fair Play, that movie with Alden Ehrenreich is a great example of this, where it's like you think the movie's going to be one thing.
Yeah.
And then it just completely goes off the rails on another thing because people, I think today, feel like they have to be that subversive in their movie making or their writing, or else it won't be modern, right?
Yeah.
But she is following the beats. Like she does not go off tracks of the beats of
For 30 minutes.
no, I think for the entire movie. But what she
don't
does,
know.
what she does in those beats, for example, the assault, could be in another movie that plot point was just treated with a lot more weight because it was a sexual assault rather than what it would be in your more conventional rom-com. But the very fact that they have a downbeat like that in that place in the movie is very common in that type of movie.
I just think, and it could be purely a taste thing of like a beat like that. That happens, and that's just immediately an alarm is raised where it's like this moment is indicating like this movie we have left the ballpark.
But it didn't leave the ballpark though. It definitely didn't leave well, no, because it has the breakup scene with Pascal, which I love that. Where he's like, I made myself spoil. If you have not seen this yet, I don't want you to skip right now.
Yeah.
When he's like, I had the surgery to make myself taller. He's like, you want to know how many inches? 6.
Yeah. He goes the full.
She's like, this isn't going to work out. No, but like they have the breakup scene, which you could see in a lot of other movies in that exact moment of time, right before a trip. I was like, are they going to really meet at the airport again? Like this is like, I mean, it was following the beats throughout the entire movie up until the end of it.
Yeah.
It just got to that place, like the false ending of them at the wedding.
Yeah.
Which you see in these movies where it's like they get together and then there's one last sequence 8 hurrah, which is the climax of the movie. Celine Song being, an indie New York playwright, you know, who's nominated for an Academy Award for a pretty inventive movie of past lives, is going to take that exact plot beat.
Yeah.
And then twist it into, instead of a climax, instead of someone pulled the fire alarm at the wedding or the catering company fired him there, or the fact that maybe he's got to get back because his roommate is, like overdosed or something like that. They take that and they go, no, actually, we're going back to the assault victim. And at the time I was like, ooh, we're really going to do that? But then that woman, Sophie, she says something where, what does she say again to her? The final line, and they actually overlay it to when he's walking out. She's walking out of the apartment.
Yeah, it's just something about like security and like, like knowing who, like, I don't know.
Like love would be the easiest part of this. You know? And it really hit for me. Like this was like the bow tie realization of her finally coming to the conclusion of like who she is as a person. And I was like, all right, it worked. I didn't know it was going to get there and work, but in the same way Pretty Woman almost has like a rape with Jason Alexander, you're like, oh, is that in the right movie? And then you're like, I guess it kind of worked for what it was doing,
Yeah. See, and that's where I disagree. I think it doesn't work in this where it's like when she comes out and is like, she's like, you're the guy for me. Like I see it now. I'm like, after we've seen like 90 minutes of proof of like inherently Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans' character.
Keep going.
Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans' character, they just don't get along. Like the movie's like, if these material objects didn't come in the way, maybe they could make it work. To me, they have almost no chemistry. And so
I disagree.
When they're at the bar and he's like trouble on the home front, and he's like talking about her with Pedro Pascal. Like, they couldn't talk to each other less. Like they do not connect.
It's naturalistic. It's not. They don't have the repartee of like banterous movie talk, And I know
they don't talk like people who know each other. They talk like people that like actually. Well, he like talks like a guy that is obsessed with her, which he admits. He declares.
Yeah, he does.
And she talks like a person who doesn't love anyone.
Which she declares too.
And then all of a sudden she's like, my client was assaulted. I love you.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
Come on, dude. I think that
I thought it was insane.
My friend who I was talking about this movie with last night, he saw it with his girlfriend and her 3 roommates. So it was like 4 girls and him, and they all did not like the movie at all. Right. And he said, he's like, I thought Chris Evans was wooden and just was not very interesting. And
I thought he was charismatic. I thought he did a good job.
But he said, he's like, I would have rather had Glenn Powell in there. I think it could have given some color to the movie. And I said to him, I go, you know what? I think that Chris Evans is perfect for this movie because he kind of had this generalness to him with the charisma of a movie star. He's obviously Captain America, but like he has this sort of everyman generalness about him.
Sure.
Like a non-specific charm almost.
Yeah.
That it's perfect for a movie like Knives Out, where you're like, this guy's just, a cardboard cutout prick, and then he's got to deliver some killer monologue, and you're like, whoa, Chris Evans can act,
Right.
And it's perfect for this movie because he's literally playing a failed actor.
Right.
There is a version of this Chris Evans character where I'm like, yeah, he's not that good at what he's doing. And I think that's another point on what I'm trying to make about the characterizations, where we're using, and this could not work for you, like you're saying it doesn't, but we're using a movie that usually, as Matthew McConaughey has this interview where he says it about his romantic comedies.
Right.
You got to float in the clouds. You know what I mean? You don't exist in real life in romantic comedies.
Right.
Everyone's an interior designer or an architect or a magazine writer, and everyone is like acting like the sadness is not too sad and the happiness is not too happy.
Yes.
And the romance is not too intense and the heartbreak is not too, you know what I mean? You kind of got to hit this like weird like level of like not too acidic, but also not too whatever the opposite of acidic is. I don't know chemistry. And I think that this movie doesn't follow those rules at all, but stays within the conventions, where it's like, yeah, Chris Evans is like a failed fucking actor. There's actually nothing very impressive about that. And Dakota Johnson is like, by her own admission in her nature, is like a very, 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 I'm not going to say only materialistic, but also like unambitious in terms of like what she wants to do. She's just specifically like, I want to make money and I understand how the world works,
Yeah.
And to put those two people as the leads of your movie, it's not going to create the conversation that like Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks has or something like that, and You've Got Mail or whatever. I know I hate that movie as well too, but like,
I like it more than this one.
but like, it's not going to create those conversations. They don't give them the interesting rom-com jobs. You know what I mean?
But what do they
Dakota
talk
Johnson's
about?
is interesting,
Yeah.
but it's not like, it's interesting when she's talking about it. You
Right.
know, it's actually not interesting when she's talking about anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's intentional. I'm just saying that I think that it's doing something. I think Celine Song and Dakota Johnson and Chris, I think they're all aware of what they're doing in this.
See, and my side of it is that I think all of this is interesting in theory. And I think in practice, when it comes out, to me, it's just, it's a failed experiment.
Did you like, yeah, okay.
And again, I don't hate the movie. It sounds like I do. I don't hate the movie.
No, it doesn't sound like you hate the movie.
I like, it was just a struggle because in so many ways, the movie, it wants to have its cake and eat it too.
Yes,
eat it too, which
absolutely.
I do as well. I love cake and I love eating it. The movie, and I think it starts from the beginning. The premise of, let me read you the log line. A young, ambitious New York City matchmaker finds herself torn between the perfect match and her imperfect ex. New York City matchmaker.
Yeah.
Inherently is an insane job.
Insane world.
It's an insane world, an insane career. That
they paint it well too.
they do. But to me, then the opposite of that is that it paints it so specifically. Then I'm also like, wait, this isn't real to me at all. Like, I don't believe this world exists, even if it does. Even if there is, as Celine Song was a matchmaker.
She was?
Yeah, this was like, she was a
Get
matchmaker.
the fuck out of here. Really?
This is why she did this.
Oh my God.
She was a matchmaker in New York City, and she was like, it was like it was an insane world, because clearly it inspired a lot of this, of like how if you're going to like an exclusive matchmaking service, these clients are like, I'm going to you to find me a specific person.
Yeah.
Which, as the movie goes on, Dakota Johnson is like, what you're looking for is insane. I can't find you this. It also is, it's so much deeper than that. Like, all of her clients' requests, like as the movie goes on, they wear her down. And she's like, this is not what this is supposed to be.
A 50-year-old Republican lesbian in Manhattan.
Exactly. Yeah. Which was very funny. But it's like, the movie presents you this information. It's like, she's a high life New York City matchmaker, but it delivers it to you like so stiffly. It's like, this is her reality. And I'm like, this has never been a reality ever.
This is definitely that reality.
I was like, it just
got me.
It's like the premise lends itself in one way, and the movie is trying to like, it's doing so much like mental gymnastics to convince you that like you need to think twice and thrice about every moment and like every decision. To me, it like I said, it just becomes overcomplicated.
When the movie starts off and it's very plastic in the way that they like the musical cues and the way she's walking and she's like, "Do you want to be set up?" And you're like, and then it goes to the party and they're all like, "Oh my God!" And it's very, very, very corny in a way that I'm wondering, "Oh my God, what's happening here?"
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh no, what's going on here?" And then for that tonal transfer to then like the onion slowly peels off that and you get to the core, and within that core, it starts with when she's smoking the cigarette. I love that they used her Dasha from Red Scare.
Yeah.
The ghost of Red Scare's in this pod. I mean, because like her playing, because she's like a straight up, have you ever listened to an episode of Red Scare?
No.
They're like pseudo communists on that show.
Oh.
And for her to play that character, which is pretty similar to the character she played in Succession, Comfrey, when she dated Nicholas Braun on that show. But like, for them to then start talking about their clients as assets, and I love that, the way that they were talking about that there. And you're starting to, all right, maybe this isn't all. And then you get into the fact that she's, kind of posturing herself in this position, and she didn't really come from this world. And it to me, it paced itself out well, where it got to the place of a complication like the assault, for example, where I was kind of on board with where she was emotionally as a character, where I felt like she had gone from, like anyone starting a new job, the things that you love, you soon learn and grow to hate. Right. And to put that in a world as intimate as dating, I think, and to put her character in that journey, I think it worked. But I totally I like your opinion on it more than a lot of opinions that I've seen on this. Okay. Which to me, I think is just a lack of understanding of what this movie is like actually attempting to do. For you understand what it's attempting to do. You're just not into it.
And I think that you're explaining it really well. I think that how you're explaining it and like the dissection of all of these elements of the rom-com and the tropes and using it like against itself and using it in a way to kind of mirror back to the audience. Like, this is what you're wanting. This is what I'm giving you. This is what, because this is like more true to life, or this is like more of a critique and more of an exploration.
It's a class critique.
Of love and romance and dating. And they make that distinction throughout the movie. Like, there's a difference between love and dating. Like, and like that dating is like,
I love that way they said that. It's something that I've thought about a ton.
It is, it's especially true in the modern world where dating is so odd and how
it's a part-time job.
Exactly.
It can be a full-time job if you're Sophie,
If you're Sophie. So I think how you're explaining it all makes sense. And I truly think it, and I also think it comes down to, for me, a taste in the performances where it's like on camera and like in practice. The episode the person we're going to pitch to, Dakota Johnson, I really like Dakota Johnson as a performer. And I like her in the movie. But there's very clearly been a direction, and you said like naturalistic performance. But to me, there's also like been a direction to me where it's like for everyone to be really reserved. Like, everybody in like any sort of dialogue exchange. There's an exchange with Pedro and Dakota Johnson at the restaurant.
Oh, this is
where they agreed to date, basically.
This is my favorite scene.
And it's
is this the third date or the
It's like the third date. It's like the nice restaurant where they shake hands.
This is my favorites. My favorite back and forth in the movie. I thought the writing was so good in this scene here.
And I thought the writing was sharp. This scene is where I noticed like there's clearly a direction being given to these actors that I just like, the taste wasn't there for me, where it was like, it's because it's played in a 2-shot and it's played wide. You see the whole thing. They basically, there's no cutting.
No,
it plays out.
It's a play.
Pretty straight.
Yes. Yeah.
And I could almost feel Pedro Pascal like trying to clench his fist not to move. He's back here and he's just laying it all on the table like this. Yeah. And it felt like I could see his body with each line want to like give a little something with an arm, like to speak with his arms, to speak with even like a kick of the foot. And it felt like he was like locked down, presenting himself, which I think was like, that is an intention for that scene. They're both presenting themselves. They're both selling themselves, and they're both trying to present themselves as very calm and collected. And I rubbed against it.
I think it tonally and performance-wise is so similar to the way Greta Lee and I'm blanking on his name, but from Past Lives. And I think that the difference is that they're speaking in Korean in the movie.
Yeah.
And it actually gives it a different element than when you're speaking in English.
Right.
But like Past Lives has, especially when they meet up and start walking around New York, long one shots long two shots.
Yeah.
Where they are just going back and forth talking. No one is raising their voice. They're barely moving, especially when they're on the ship to the Statue of Liberty specifically. And it's just like we are driving forward the scene through the charged dialogue rather than performance around the dialogue.
Yeah.
And for me, it worked. I mean, that scene specifically, I thought we were shifting to Dakota, but I wanted to bring up that scene before we shifted to Dakota because I love that scene so much. I thought it's so hard to write about things that are on your mind about the world and not make it feel like I'm just trying to tell you my opinion on the world and to put it lived in through characters when she's saying, you shouldn't date me. I'm a 35-year-old and the 25 was going to be all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I mean, especially with the camera work, that two shots coming in, I think it's on like a track or something.
Yeah.
It's coming around this velvet booth. And this is something that's so visually interesting about this. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, Song like really knows what she's doing, is that the corner of the booth, we're getting closer and closer, and the corner of the booth is blocking their hands. So it's blocking where Pascal's hand is and where Dakota Johnson's arm is. And the entire time you're hearing this dialogue, I'm looking there and I'm like, is he touching her arm? Like what? And you're like, what level of intimacy are they at right now in the relationship? She still seems like she's pulling back, and he's trying to convince her that she should pull in. And you're saying that they're locked off, that they're not moving. But what I'm seeing there is like a subtlety in where the camera is going and where their placement is, that by the time that they get to a point in the conversation where she then kind of parries his advance, it comes over the velvet booth and you see that their hands are separated. And Dakota Johnson pulls her arm back and then you go, oh, okay, that's the body language going on here. And to me, like in harmony, the themes, the dialogue, the camera work, the performance, all kind of work together in something like that.
Yeah.
And then Pedro Pascal, I wrote this down. He got the line in there where he's like, she says her whole thing, and he's like, I want a woman who understands the game, how the world works. Yeah. And I was like, yo, shit. I'm going to start saying that on a lot of dates.
Good.
Listen up. Sarah from Hinge. I want a woman who understands the game, how the world works.
And she goes, get the fuck away from me, you monster. Yeah.
I love that line. I was really worried I wouldn't like Pascal in this movie. I thought he was like actually pretty good.
I thought he was good. Yeah, I thought he was
like, I'm always convinced that I don't like him because of all of his like, just like Pedro Pascal is dancing in the Apple commercial. Even though I do like Spike Jonze, I'm just like,
yeah,
like, come on, dude.
They've really pushed him hard.
But then I see him in something like Narcos or this, and I'm like, oh, this guy's actually really excellent when he is. Yeah,
he just has like a. I think all three of the stars of the movie, and Dakota's to me is very clearly the lead. Like the movie really is.
Oh, she's got way more screen time than either of them.
She's really the lead. Pedro's really third.
Pascal exits the movie.
Yeah, for a while.
I mean, for the entire last 20 minutes of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of when the movie deflated. Like it didn't need all of the time it had at the. Like I would have cut out the vows where they're doing the voiceover of the vows.
Yeah.
I would have cut that out. I would have gone straight to the reception and then not done an entire song at the reception. Get to the conversation where they're not going to do this, and then get to the next part. And then like I'm good without the epilogue. I don't need him. Oh, he's going to order from the halal truck, and it's like, oh, he's only got one $20 bill, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But then the little character growth, he's like, keep the change, and you're like,
wow,
he's not
$3.75 going right back to it. Unbelievable.
And then it goes back there, and he ties the thing around. I'm like, all right, like we're now we're kind of there's a little bit of overkill.
All right, let it go, man. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it. I don't need the little epilogue.
Did you like the caveman ring thing though? In general. I got what it was saying. It was I got what it was saying. From the dawn of time, people are into material.
I definitely got what it was saying. It was, But again, for me, it was just like as soon as that started, it was like it was my very first alarm of like,
you're like,
I
oh,
don't
no.
I don't know if I'm here to play ball. Like I showed up at the wrong court, I think.
That's the type of shit, and I worry about this because no one watches movies on cable anymore, obviously. But it's like that's the type of shit that if I saw this movie on the USA Network for 7 years straight, I would grow to like really enjoy seeing that.
that warm welcome.
Or not even the warm welcome, but just like wondering why it's in there. You know, like that's like it's not consequential enough for me. It's not like I'm watching The Brutalist and all of a sudden the movie takes like an insane turn where you're like, all right, this is just what's going on here now.
Yeah.
This is like so like just it's so harmless to me that I'm just like, you know what? I'm either going to forget this is in the movie every time I watch it. Or I'm just going to start laughing at it.
Just keep it. All right. Leave it in there.
But I don't think that's how we watch movies now. Like, I don't think you're going to watch Materialists ever again, maybe.
I think maybe not.
Yeah. And I think that like this is a movie that I think you would start to enjoy if you just kind of caught 30 minutes of it every so often.
Here and there.
Yeah.
It's possible. You know, I thought all 3 stars were they brought an energy that I mean they
not according to you.
Well, they bring like this energy to the movie where it's like you're kind of always excited to see them.
Yeah.
And I think that's to me that's Dakota Johnson's greatest strength. And I know some people would be like I feel like the knock on Dakota Johnson usually is that would be like energy. What are you talking about? Like
she talks slow.
Yeah, she's very subdued. She's very laid back. I think that is like her greatest superpower because to me, it's like when she's doing that, she has set the pace.
Yeah.
She's like in complete control of a scene.
Can I shift gears to a little DJ here?
Yeah.
Because going off of that, you know, I watched Cha Cha Real Smooth over the weekend. A movie that I read your entire Letterboxd review. You love that movie.
I did really, really like it.
You got 800 words on Cha Cha on the LBX.
Yeah.
But there's a scene, Cooper Rife has this line in there where he's like, I don't know if you either don't want to talk to me or you have something really important to say and you just can't figure out how to say it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's kind of Dakota Johnson's entire career.
Yeah.
Her entire performance style.
Yeah.
But to me, it doesn't work in genre movies as well. Which is funny because this is kind of like them challenging the genre movie, which I think is kind of interesting that Dakota's in it. She's kind of a part of that. It works really well in the Luca Guadagnino, Bigger Splash type movies.
Yeah.
Suspiria too. I mean,
she's great in both.
Where you're just like, oh, and it's actually better if we're a little confused on what's going on by her performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
instead of just exposition delivery.
Yeah. I mean, because like she is like, I mean, she's a beautiful person to look at. And then when she is talking, it's like kind of like there's just like a lot going on because it's like there's such a presence there where it's kind of like she's just like a little bit of an enigma, I think. And I think that I honestly think that so many movies and casting directors are like, what do we do with Dakota Johnson?
She's not a regular person.
No, she's not. And
I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah, I think it is a compliment. And I think sometimes that is used to her detriment. I think sometimes in a movie where it comes up and where it's like a Madam Web, where it's like, what if she was a superhero?
Yeah.
And you're like, I understand the thinking in the sense that she's not like other people.
Yeah. I mean, her web does connect them all.
And it absolutely does. And I can't say that enough. But on the opposite side of that, you're like, you're not following Dakota Johnson. Like, you're not going to be like, there's our leader. Like, there's like the hero of this picture. There's like the mythical hero of this picture. It's like, there's a really interesting person that I think I'm going to leave him over there. I think I'm going to stay here. I'm going to watch him from afar. But I'm not going to touch that web.
I think by her nature, it's hard to trust her in movies.
Totally.
And you can weaponize that really well.
Yeah. I think it's done well in Cha Cha Real Smooth.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that the problem is that she's almost like too enigmatic to be in the position that she's in. Like,
That's fair.
She feels a little out of place, even though like that's not even her fault.
Yeah.
And the part about Cha Cha Real Smooth, which I didn't think I was going to buy, which I did buy, was the chemistry with her and Cooper Rife.
Yeah.
I mean, Cooper Rife has really grown on me as a performer. I think he's like actually pretty I'll say the word again, enigmatic on screen. There's something about him that's actually like pretty interesting to kind of follow throughout a movie.
He fully believes in everything that has written. I mean, he like fully believes what he's doing, but it's said in a way that like it almost like it like cuts straight through while also like feeling like it lacks confidence.
Yeah, there's like an intense earnestness about it.
Yeah, where you're like, huh. It like totally disarms you.
I mean, he's also, now we're going on like a Cooper Rife side quest here, but like I think he's the best. He took the mantle from Jason Segel. He's actually, I think, now the best male on-screen crier we have.
Yeah.
He cried in both Shithouse and Cha-Cha.
He really cries.
And he really like hits you with a mallet to the chest when he cries.
He's like, I am broken.
Yeah.
I cannot
it's pretty
be repaired.
incredible crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
And Dakota, when you look at Dakota, you're like, she can't cry. Like you're like,
she's cried a couple times in movies. She's cried well.
Like, it's like when you're like, I don't think that person knows how to cry.
Do you know what I also
and she should.
You know, I also checked out. I watched Peanut Butter Falcon last night.
I think it's a good movie.
Good movie.
Yeah.
I think it's like on the shoulders of Shia LaBeouf.
He's really good.
He's really good in that movie.
Yeah.
And his screen partner, who I don't know his name. But like, you're right. And in your Letterboxd review, this is just Will's Letterboxd reviews this episode. You got a good point where it's just her character is like, by not her own fault, just pretty underdeveloped in that movie. And
it's a shame.
Yeah.
How underdeveloped.
It's kind of like a 3.5 star movie that should be a 4.5 star movie.
Yeah.
If they gave her a better part.
Yes. She kind of was just tacked along to it. And then it's like all of a sudden her and Shia are like, are we in love?
It's insane that they're like gonna move in together at the end of that movie. You're like, what?
Yeah. You're like, no, you're not.
No.
You guys are maybe friends. There's no way you're in love.
I definitely believe she'd hook up with him.
Yeah. I guess.
But when she what they should have done is that, you know, they made her, she went to GW and then she's working to try to make a difference at this old person home. Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, I get that part. But what should have been the case is that she should have played someone who's local to that town and made her real rattier.
Yeah.
But had a heart of gold still.
Yeah.
And that would have taken away the fish out of water part where
Yes.
they give her the Bryce Dallas Howard Jurassic World thing where she's in the heels is it would have taken away that part of it.
Yeah.
But what it would have earned is actually like a much more believable relationship with her and Shia LaBeouf.
Totally. Yeah.
And like an opportunity for her to be like, I actually am trying to escape this town too, which she's like really not thinking about doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting movie. It like, I both think of it fondly and you're right. It should be way better.
Yeah.
Like it could be.
I mean, some of those scenes with Shia are just like, I hate that he's like just such a nut because I mean, dude, he is an incredible actor.
Yeah, he really is. I mean,
I don't want to call him a nut on air. I'm sorry, Shia LaBeouf.
we don't mean that. But anyway, no, I think Dakota is. I think she's just a really the only person I can think of that's like even like similar to her
Yeah, give it to me.
is like, and they are friends, is like Aubrey Plaza.
I was thinking her or Sydney Sweeney, who she's also in Madam Web with.
Oh, true. Yeah.
They're all both like slow talkers, but
Yeah.
have this like moment where as soon as you don't think that you're buying what they're putting, you're picking up what they're putting down, then they kind of hit you with 30 seconds where you're like, holy shit, that was the most isolating, impactful 30 seconds I've seen in a while.
yeah.
Like Sydney Sweeney, similarly, in a rom-com, people were taking jabs at her performance, anyone but you. But there's something clearly incredibly interesting to watch her do on screen. I mean, attractiveness aside,
Yeah. I don't want to be mean to Sweeney. To me, with Sweeney, it almost is like I like you kind of can't believe, because I mean she looks almost otherworldly. So
Yeah.
when she's like saying like she's just like hello, you're
She's like, I'm in law school.
yeah, you're like really law school. That is unbelievable.
She doesn't have, I mean, both of them do not have the Meg Ryan-ness of like, I'm a regular gal,
Yeah.
and I'm also strikingly beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a different quality.
Of those three, Aubrey Plaza would be the one that has the most like you're like that's a person. Like
Yeah.
I can believe that. But
Yeah.
but then Aubrey Plaza can take it so far like dour almost. Where you're like I don't know that I
I don't know that I
need
trust
this
you.
person.
Yeah. Perfect for a White Lotus character.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think But they are apparently friends. And they have a very similar energy to them. But Dakota is really like
They just sit at lunch and don't say anything for 45 minutes.
and you just can't help but watch. You can't help but stare.
Sorry, what were you saying?
But it's I think Dakota has a little bit more like I don't know if range to her, because Aubrey Plaza does have great range to her. I just think that Dakota Johnson has maybe a little bit more of that like classical like movie star nature to her, where it's like you can see her like. It makes sense when they try to like, either they're trying to make her like the hero, or when they like try to spin her as like not everything is right here. Like there's a little bit of that in like the Lost Daughter, like her character is like a
I
little
haven't
bit.
caught that. So
It's like you just always like not sure where you stand with her, and there's a little bit like her character in Suspiria. You're just kind of like where is this girl coming from? Like
it's similarly the Brad Pitt thing, where it's like character actor trapped in a leading in a movie star's body. She has a really interesting start to her. I mean, the first time that I think any of us saw her on screen was in The Social Network.
Yeah,
when she didn't sleep with Sean Parker, she slept on top of Sean Parker.
obviously.
As he notes in that movie.
Yeah,
but she's like very much herself in that scene, and it's actually such a memorable scene in that movie.
It's a really memorable scene, and it's kind of like the perfect proof of concept for Dakota Johnson.
And then they don't use her like that for the next 5 years. When she's in like a minute of 21 Jump Street.
I don't remember her at all.
She's the cheerleader, but not the one who says finger popping in yo ass. It's the other one where she's just like, we solved 3 cases, and guess what? Your drugs are at this high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't remember that at all.
But like 5-year engagement, like Need for Speed, Date and Switch. I mean, she's like, kind of doing her thing.
They're just trying her out.
Yeah, and then she gets to the 50 Shades movies, and then all of a sudden, like, I think those movies are widely considered not successful. I mean, hit me in the comments if you're they're not like Twilight, where people like remember them. Yeah. People remember them. I mean, I remember them pretty laughable when I saw them. I saw one of them, but yeah.
My old roommates went through and watched them, and like that feels like it went on for like a week. Like because I feel like every time I came down in the living room, one of them was on, and I was just like,
they're in the red room.
You couldn't help but stop,
yeah,
and catch 5 to 6 minutes, because you're like, I'd love to try to on my own figure out what's going on contextually with this movie, and you couldn't get.
I think the biggest problem with Dakota Johnson in there is you always feel like Dakota Johnson in any movie has the upper hand, and in those movies, I think by nature of the plot of it, it's pretty submissive.
Yeah,
but it's funny that Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson have gone on to do such different stuff, not from each other, but from those movies.
Yeah, like, they really got out of that.
They got out of that immediately. Like Jamie Dornan's doing like Irish independent cinema now. I mean, it's like,
I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, I mean,
he was in Belfast. That was the last time I saw him.
Yeah.
You know what I watched too though? Have you ever seen How to Be Single?
No.
Oh my, you should sit down.
I should learn.
It's on Tubi. Okay. Check it out.
Good.
It's like the perfect encapsulation of like late second term Obama era millennial just like it's like 2016. It's like millennials are at this point, in their like late 20s to early 30s, and it's got such a unique energy that I think I forgot existed. But like I was so drawn to watching everything happen. The movie's not very good.
Okay.
But like there's actually a few really good jokes in there, and there's like moments in it where you're like, oh, like Anders Holm is just playing like not a weirdo, and you're like, all right, cool. He's playing. He's like, yeah, I just go to the bar and like I'm a bartender and I'm charming, and you're like wow, like it was like a lot of people who we know them now by their personalities of themselves as celebrities, but them kind of being fit into like very boring and like standard like young adult rom-com roles in a certain specific time.
Is it like in the same way that what is that Zac Efron, Michael B. Jordan?
That awkward moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that movie's actually like a little more charming.
Okay.
Yeah, but it is in the same where you're like, oh, that's Allison Brie, and she's like neurotic, and then you're like, that's Dakota Johnson, and she's got to play like a character. She's the star of the movie where she's like, I'm trying to hike the Grand Canyon at midnight at New Year's. And you're like, all right, you go do that.
I guess give it a shot.
Leslie Mann is in there. She's her older sister. This is like peak Rebel Wilson.
Oh, okay.
And I will say there's actually a couple really good lines from Rebel Wilson in this movie.
We forgot how good she could be. Now we're putting her in Bride Hard. Have you seen the trailer? They played the trailer for Bride Hard before Materialists.
Yeah. How was that?
That looks rough. That looks like a night in hell. If you're going to see that one.
Can I read you the cast of How to Be Single? You ready for this?
Yeah.
It's Dakota Johnson, Rebel Wilson, Allison Brie, Leslie Mann, Damon Wayans Jr., Anders Holm, Jake Lacey, Nicholas Braun, Jason Mantzoukas, Colin Jost. There was when they do the Marvel movies now, and there's like 15 movie stars in them. Mm-hmm. Before those existed, they basically did the same style of scheduling of a movie, but just did it for
New Year's Eve.
And yeah. And they're like, Bradley Cooper, we need you for 2 weeks and we'll pay you $2 million.
And we won't green screen you out. Yeah. You gotta be in New York. You gotta be in Toronto.
But yeah, Dakota Johnson, any other shout outs? We talked Bigger Splash. That's probably our favorite of the bunch that she's kind of starring in, I think, right?
She's great in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she especially because she's like younger in that one, like she really, she goes toe to toe with Fiennes. She goes toe to toe with Swinton.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She
goes dong to dong with Fiennes.
And haven't we all dreamed of going that way? I mean, I like I said, I really do think that she's just like such a fascinating. I mean, she's a movie star to me in the way that it's like sometimes you just like to see like beautiful looking people be just like off, like or just like I don't understand them.
Yeah, and her biggest strength, and I really think this ties into just everything about her, being raised by her parents, Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith.
Yeah.
Which like is just insane when you're like Melanie Griffith, who, was a huge movie star.
Yeah.
And Don Johnson, who played one of the coolest characters on television in the 80s.
The star of the 80s,
yeah. Are raising her. Yeah. And they're full on blown out Hollywood, lifestyles at that time. And her to kind of come out of that with, I mean, obviously just like an inherent physical beauty, but then like in her attitude towards the movie industry always to me feels like, I don't really need this.
Yeah.
I'm doing it, but trust me when I say this, the moment you think I need this is the moment that you realize this needs me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of her MO in all of her performances. And like, it's different than a Timothée Chalamet where you're like, I'm going to try to be the greatest actor ever.
Yeah.
But for her, I think it works. And I think it works really well in movies that are aware of that.
There's like a level of like, it's not to say that she doesn't care, but like there's just like a level of just like, she is confident in who she is where she's just like, I'm just doing it. She has like to me, she just has like such a refreshing like attitude about her where you're just like, I love watching interviews with her. I think she's like a great interview because she's just like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know what you're doing here. You're Dakota Johnson.
Would you let her ruin your life in another universe?
Of course.
Yeah, I would. She would ruin my life.
She would kill you.
Yeah.
You'd be dead.
All right, final question before we pitch.
Sure.
Let's get on this. Well, do you believe that love can change a person? I think that's probably the eternal question of the materialist right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can love make us better people?
Yeah. Sure. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
I wrote down that question. I said, ask Will if love can make us better people.
I think so. I believe in love. I am in love.
There you go.
And you believe in life after love?
No. No, I don't. And don't ever fucking ask me that again. Do you hear me?
I was on the phone. What's up?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know you were
I do think if
somebody.
you're unsure of why the materialist is smart, then just ask yourself that question, because I think Celine Song believes that above all else,
there's sweet love.
Love does prevail. And I think she does that in a very intelligent way. And I agree with her that the pursuit of love is different from the pursuit of dating.
Yes.
And the pursuit of dating can make you a worse person. Mm-hmm. The pursuit of love can put your best foot forward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love can find you.
I'm
and love found me.
Love's
and it
going
can
to
be the easiest part.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whatever. So, Tanner, do you have any thoughts on Dakota Johnson? Do you care about her?
Hot.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Nailed it. But
Tell it to her face.
You are Dakota was not in the elevator. That actually is pretty fitting that Dakota Johnson's our first character who's like, I'm good.
I'm not going in there.
Yeah.
Picture this. You're at work. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Who friggin' knows? And then ding, an email comes into the inbox. It's the Pioneer newsletter. You read through it. You say, God damn, if that wasn't a cold cocktail for my inbox. Sign up today at thepioneer.online. That's thepioneer.online. All right, back to the show.
Yeah. So are you guys ready to pitch? Or
Yeah.
Let's do the thing.
We're ready.
Okay,
dude.
cool.
Let's do the namesake.
So
Go.
Okay.
for those who haven't watched the episode before, I ask a question to see who's going to pitch first.
Right.
And the question today is in 2014. Well, okay, so her grandmother, Tippi Hedren. Do you guys know who this is?
Oh, her grandmother's.
Yeah,
I know.
she's a line.
Or,
of
sorry,
royalty.
That's really cool.
Actor's take. My grandmother, Tippi Hedren,
I wish her and Chris Martin
is
had
a big
kids.
animal rights activist.
Crazy.
Okay?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
So in 2014, an amount of horses was going to be killed.
Just
So she bought all of these horses. Sorry, can I do an extra take? Yeah. I bought all of these horses so they wouldn't be killed.
oh, you're Tippi.
No, I'm
You are Dakota Johnson.
Dakota
now.
Johnson.
Oh, welcome to the elevator.
She arrived late.
following in the footsteps of my grandma,
Fashionably
Tippy
late.
Toopy.
Yeah.
How many horses did I buy in 2014?
Oh, man,
interesting.
I like this question,
Yeah,
Tanner.
this is
Good
good.
job on this one.
Thank you. It's actually going to tie pretty well into the pitch stitch as well.
Okay.
And, you're-
You have to kill all of these horses on camera.
and let me tell you, it's not a small amount of horses.
Oh, all right. You want to go first? Or you want me to go?
I'll say 1,117.
That is a lot of horses, dude. Jesus Christ.
Okay, do you even want to guess, Matt, or do you just?
I was
going to
say
first?
400.
Whoa. Okay, so I don't know.
You didn't preface it like this could be like a glue factory or
I
this
don't
could
know.
be a stable.
I
We
don't know if you guys know how hard it is to take care of an animal. Based on
11
this answer.
Would you say 1,100?
I thought she gave him to I thought she gave him to Elmer's and was like,
What is the
Said
real?
she bought a country's worth of horses.
I thought she bought a nation, a small province's worth of horses.
Is the answer like? Is the answer like 15?
It's 8.
The answer is 12. You guys are really killing
Look,
how
she fucking loves horses.
She's a
does.
materialist, bro. She got to have more.
They were gonna kill 12, and she said, "You know what? These 12 need buddies, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
buy 1,000 more."
Yeah.
and
and then
5.
give away 985 of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tippy Henderson is a
Okay,
woman who understands the game.
Yeah.
She knows how the world works.
But Tippi Hedren, my grandmother,
Right.
bad lady. Okay, and then the pitch stitch is in your movie, because my grandma is Tippi Hedren, I have become an animal rights activist myself, and
Yes.
I'd like it if you guys could put in some sort of animal rights activism message in your movie.
Okay, I like this.
Oh, interesting.
I know, that's what I was
I can
thinking.
All right,
make
give me
this happen.
1 second then.
I'm Dakota Effin Johnson. I'm named after 2 of the best states.
Johnson City.
In Johnson, Alabama. What's going on, motherfucker?
So not Dakota.
Dakota Johnson is a really cool name.
It is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson, both great names.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're going to one up this shit.
Yeah. Who was then? Melanie Griffith was then married to Antonio Banderas.
Antonio Banderas. Yeah.
Scotty Reeves.
And then Scotty Reeves.
Who's Scotty Reeves?
He was my friend in high school. He's fucking awesome. He's not even my friend. He was way cooler than me.
He's so
Tanner, have you ever
cool.
seen the Peanut Butter Falcon?
No, but
I think you'll like it.
Scotty Reeves has seen it, and
Okay.
he's a pretty big fan.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, Scotty.
Oh, yeah.
So do you
All
want
right.
to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Apparently you were closer to 12 than 1,117. Whatever.
I wanted to go high because, like, obviously it wasn't going to be that high. So I wanted to kind of hit a range
Yes,
there. Yeah.
yes, smart.
I was really game theorying it. Yeah.
So was Will Peters thinking that possibly this was. What did you say? You thought this was maybe she was rescuing them from a glue factory?
I said that at first. He high on pot noosed my joke there.
I just thought that she cared. 12 doesn't
Yeah.
really say that much to me.
12. 12 is a beautiful number of horses to get.
1,100 is special. That's a race that has been saved.
All right.
Ready?
Wait, what was it? I have to incorporate animal rights activism? Is that it?
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah, it could be subtle.
All right. Oh, all right. Actually, I thought of a great way to do it.
Are you ready?
1 second.
I don't know. I want to
He's gonna blow, dude.
All right, that was a really loud clap. You're gonna have to take that out. All right, I'm ready.
Let's get it.
All right, Dakota Johnson. I love you as an actress.
Thank you.
That's why for this pitch I'm going back to the well, folks.
Okay.
I'm pulling out a move that I pulled out a long time ago on our Luca Guadagnino episode.
Dun, dun.
That is ripe for a sequel. The movie's not a sequel, but the idea.
Okay.
Is it tomato?
Okay. Is anyone a fan of HGTV here?
Me, Will, and my mom.
Dakota Johnson is going to make a film adaptation of the hit HGTV show Love It or List It.
Cool.
Love It or List It is a show in which an interior designer and a real estate agent basically compete with a client to either one of them remodels their home and the other one lists their home and tries to get them a new house or is try to find it. And then at the end of the episode they decide if they're going to love it
Or list
it. Yeah.
Well done.
And I thought that's actually a pretty interesting conflict for a movie if you put some interesting characters in there.
That's good. Yeah.
So this is a movie based on that. All right, here's the log line.
Okay.
Dakota Johnson's Valerie Wheatley, and she is married to Miles Teller, who's Graham Wheatley. They're a married couple, and they're a powerful, wealthy couple. Miles Teller is a real estate agent who sells high-end like vacation homes in Nantucket and Montauk and these big places there. Dakota Johnson's Valerie Wheatley. She's a world-class interior designer. All right. They've got a kid. Let's call him Ralph. All right.
Hey, Ralph.
He's like a 4-year-old. And
Hey, Ralph.
their marriage, let's just say, is on the rocks. Okay. That is when Wes Beale comes in, played by Dominic Sessa, who is the son of Kenneth Beale, who is like a newspaper tycoon who has passed away.
Cool.
And this son just has now this absurd house that he either has to love it or list it. And Dominic Sessa, the only thing I wrote down about his character is that he drives a Cybertruck. We're going with like flagrantly rich, no taste, kind of like the worst type of client if you're either a real estate agent or interior designer, where they're going to give you no actual direction on this, and they have all the money in the world to throw at it. All right.
Okay.
So they're dealing with kind of a nightmare client. That's Sessa. And they come home one night, right? And Valerie's like, oh my God, like I just got this massive, massive project for, the old Beale estate. Mm-hmm. And then Teller's like, wait, what? I also got that. And Dominic Sessa, being his like fuckboy self, is like, yeah, I'm deciding to like list this place and design it. And I'm just going to see what I like better at the end of it. In true chaos nature.
Yeah.
So they're, in this marriage where they're ultra successful and highly competitive in their own fields. And that quality, while that's brought them together in romance, is also the quality that tears them apart the most, It's like their best, the quality they love in each other is actually the quality that makes them so competitive. I mean, neither of them are going to give up this account.
Okay.
And they're going to keep going at it.
Cool.
And they're going to be like, I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it up. And this entire movie is intercut in therapy sessions with that guy Charles whatever from Top Gun. I'm going to keep talking as I look him up.
Okay.
But anyway, so they're going to go and like kind of sabotage each other. One thing they might do to sabotage each other is Graham might call up a couple of his friends from the ASPCA Foundation. Cool. He bought a table at the gala last year.
Obviously.
To say, hey, why don't you, put a little zoning violations within the house here that would make it hard to get some permits to remodel,
Yeah.
Maybe even a destructive barn that's not up to coding that could kill some horses. I don't know. We'll find out. The therapist's name is Charles Parnell. Cool. Anyway, so it's going to be like Mr. and Mr. Smith intercut with them. Okay. And so they're competing, and meanwhile, their son Ralph, right? He's got this science project that's going on the entire movie. Mm. And Ralph's been working on it, and it's all going to lead to this competition at the end. And, his parents are like then using that to kind of compete for their son's affection. Okay. Where they're like, no, you should use my idea for the, the light bulb that turns on from the potato, and then the other, whatever, So anyway, we get to the end of the movie. Their marriage is completely on the rocks, all right? And we're at a point where we have no idea if Dominic Sessa is going to love it or list it. They've both done a bang-up job, and within doing a bang-up job, they've like ruined their marriage.
Yeah.
We get to the science fair. All hope is lost, all right? Mm. And then they learn that Dominic Sessa has been arrested by the SEC for some sort of like financial white collar crime. So he is neither going to love it nor list it. The bank is actually going to list it.
Wow.
And the kid, I gotta finish. And the kid, they learn that their son Ralph, has cheated in the science competition. And they look at each other and they're like, we did this to our kid. We made him like ourselves,
Wow.
This is we raised the kid to be of our quality that has both brought us together in marriage, but is also tearing us apart and is now gonna be on our son. So what do? They tell him right? Does that bring them together and realize that love overcomes? Well, the love is in that quality of ultra competitiveness and cutthroat nature. So they tell him, Ralph, you go ahead and cheat, sabotage that kid's fucking science project.
Wow.
And in the end, they realize through letting their son cheat that this is just who they are.
Yeah, obviously.
They're cutthroat, and they're going to raise their kid to be that way too.
Shit.
True love exists,
Yeah.
but that's the easiest part. Materialists said that.
Wow.
Anyway, this is directed by Nicole Holofcener.
Cool.
Fuck yeah.
Fun.
And this is Love It or List It.
I like
the
it.
movie.
Do you watch this show?
I've seen episodes.
Whew, man. Talk about guys that have seen it all, and they're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Jesus, dude.
Dude, it's Love It or List It.
The
It's been on
movie is
for
awesome.
years.
The movie's awesome.
I'm not saying the show's got a good idea. Love it or list it.
Either
I
Love It or List
really like your movie.
Thank you.
The show, I can only imagine what it looks like and sounds like, and people in it are. That's probably bad, but your thing about it makes me almost think it sounds interesting.
Well, there you go.
That
Sounds pretty good.
a little bit of a compliment sandwich for that show, but your movie is both pieces of bread.
Did I explain it well, by the way? I should have wrote more down about this, but I changed it.
I liked it. I like loving it, and I like listening.
I love the
I
idea
can't pick.
of the message at the end being that they teach the kid
You should cheat.
to be a bad kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's where the Holofcener gets in there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because she loves the moral gray area of that kind of. She loves like inspecting wealth and then finding like earnestness in like 50 feet of shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a pretty unique quality as a director.
She's great. I
And
love it.
I think that's why and it's also like this movie's like not like corny. Like this is like a
Yeah.
Nicole Holofcener movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where
Just that
it's
good
it's real shit going on.
She's the man, dude.
Yeah.
She rocks.
And I liked how the animal rights stuff was in there. Will, how
Yeah.
we feeling?
Ready.
Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Close my laptop.
Go.
Go.
Okay. My movie is called Fitting In. Okay. This is directed by Parker Finn of Smile and Smile 2 fame. And he also was a Chapman University graduate.
Ho ho.
So that's pretty cool. Our log line. After being sent to Earth in the disguise of a married couple, tensions begin to arise between two aliens, Lido, played by Dakota Johnson, and Killian, played by Andrew Garfield, as they embark on a mission to discover who the superior being is on the planet of Earth and who they should partner with to basically take over Earth with. Now, the first 30 minutes of this movie is, and we will know that they are aliens. Like we will see them. They arrive on Earth. They're clearly like they come from a smart planet. I gave it a name. I believe I called it Voltron 933.
Fitorb. Brought to you by Coinbase.
And this planet, they're very smart, and they're like, we'd like to take Earth, but we do believe that we don't want a hostile takeover. We want to partner with somebody, but they aren't convinced it's the humans. So this is kind of Lido and Killian are a part of a much larger group of people from this planet that have been sent to Earth in pairs to do research.
Like Hancock.
Like, obviously, like Hancock,
Okay.
if that helps.
Are you pitching Hancock?
Will Smith comes in.
He's got like a beanie over his eyes.
And he's so fucking drunk. And Lido and Killian they're in the neighborhood and they're talking to their neighbors. Their neighbors are like, they're strange folks. They're always out in nature, like really looking at plants for long extended periods of time.
Coneheads.
But as they are just coneheads, really.
Do they look like human beings, by the way?
They do. They have like full costumes.
These
to make
two
them
are
look
too
like,
hot to take away their
exactly.
hotness.
You're like, wow, those are the two most beautiful people in the neighborhood.
You got 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
So this is where things get interesting. As they're discovered, and we come to find out that they are like, humans are clearly not the superior being.
Idiocracy.
Cows. Cows are clearly the superior being on this planet. That is who we should partner with. Here's where animal rights comes into play. It's like, we got to save the animals. And they're like, these animals, these cows, they're just milking these fuckers. We had to be using them for policy. Anyway, Dakota Johnson and Andrew Garfield have been butting heads on their mission because Andrew Garfield is all business. He's all like, we are here for Voltron 933.
Kintor.
And Lido is like, I don't know if we're just here for Voltron 933.
Zimbabwe.
It's like standard Dakota. She's like, I don't know.
She's like, I don't know if we are. She's like, I'm kind of here for these fucking cows.
Kind of here to sleep on Sean Parker.
Minute 30.
And Killian's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. This is insane. Have you not forgotten the great promises of Voltron 933 in the afterlife?
Skin throp.
And Lido kills Killian. And in fact, it'll be like a gruesome, she's going to eat Killian. She basically, finger. Exactly. It'll sound just like that. And initially the neighborhood is like, where's Killian? And Lido's like, I don't know. But the neighborhood, the women of the neighborhood, all of the wives of this classic like suburban neighborhood, they come to like really respect what Lido's putting down. And Lido kind of becomes this champion of like the community.
Just no.
And she's like, yeah.
30 seconds.
And they're like, that Lido, something's interesting about her. And all their husbands are like, where the hell is her husband? Where did that other guy go? And why is that girl the most beautiful person in the world? And why is she here in Springfield, Missouri? And the movie becomes like, she will not leave Earth. And she wants to invest back. She wants to give back to the women, to the cows. And that's really it.
Yeah. I like what you did there, though. You made Dakota Johnson an alien in human form.
Yes.
Are we done with that? You made Dakota Johnson an alien in human form because that is kind of her public persona.
The big shock will be when Andrew Garfield is eaten like 35 minutes into the movie.
Oh, it's at 35 minutes.
Yeah, it's like pretty early, and it's like from there it's like, oh.
He's reading a modern love poem.
Yeah.
Brought him to tears and he's eaten.
I do think there's an element to this where it's like, obviously they're from Voltron 933.
Obviously.
So I think that there's still like Killian's presence is like still like somehow like his existence, he still exists, but this body that he was in has been eaten by Lido. But she can still like hear him and like he's like, you are going to pay for this. I'm in communication with the higher powers.
Yeah.
And Lido's like, I don't care anymore.
I don't fucking believe in the higher powers.
I believe in milk.
Trust me, it's better.
I believe in
She hears a voice in his head. It's just like, no, what was it that I fucked it up? Just cut that part out of it.
This is
That was a
you're
botched quote.
You're done. Yeah,
that was good.
That's fitting in. So
Can I offer a third suggestion, by the way, real quick?
Sure.
Should we have kept Dakota just in Silicon Valley? She hasn't gone back to Palo Alto.
Follow her story?
Yeah, dude.
What's that?
Imagine I sat down and pitched like the I forget her name.
The biopic of that student.
Yeah, the biopic of that French major student. I think that would have been good.
I think that obviously would have been up like a best picture.
I like when she goes to the shower, Timberlake's like, hey, can I borrow your computer to check my email? Imagine saying that to a one night stand. Yo, real quick before I leave, can I borrow your MacBook? I just got to check
and
my
then I'll
email.
get out of your hair, I promise.
Hey, I'm going to send myself an email. I need to find you, Mark Zuckerberg.
God.
Yeah. What are we talking about again?
We're talking about Mark Zuckerberg being in a movie with Celine Song.
Wow, way
Who
to tie it
surprisingly-
back.
Surprisingly,
Thank you.
cannot sing.
Give us a winner. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go with.
He's picking a random one in his head.
His eyes are closed.
He forgets both pitches.
I pick the one that was nicer to. You said horses.
Yeah.
I picked the one that was nicer to horses. I'm not a cow guy or a lady.
Not a cow
lady.
guy.
I fucking knew I
Love
should
it or list it. The movie.
Fucking
Not a fan of the
hell.
show, but a fan of the movie.
I think that is. But thank you for choosing mine. I think that
forgive you.
should be a movie.
I think that is very clever. Yeah, I like that. That's the type of IP we should.
If you're
explore,
wondering the reference for any new listeners on the Luca Guadagnino, I pitched Below Deck the movie,
which was also good.
and I'll pitch a third one. Damn it.
Yeah.
Summer House should be a fucking movie too.
Whoa, save it for a
Yeah.
later episode.
Anyway,
Dakota
any
Johnson.
closing thoughts.
My closing thoughts are: I think I encourage a visit to Materialists.
Thank you.
I encourage a watch of it. You may love it. You may list it.
I'm really in the minority here for really loving it. Most people have.
It feels
listed
like but it has really swung to this. It feels like the first wave of reviews I saw were like
Good.
Some people really liked it, and there definitely were like some negative reviews. It feels like there has definitely been a wave of like, oh, I don't like that.
This movie is misunderstood in a way that I hope is reconsidered in time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that if Celine Song, and I think she will, goes on to have like a pretty prolific career as a writer and director, that this movie will be reconsidered in the way that, you know, a Misfire of a Scorsese or something is reconsidered in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Or even like a Marie Antoinette from Sofia Coppola or something.
Yeah.
Which similarly had that kind of like controversial, I'm not sure this fits in its nature.
Yeah.
Type release. I think it will be, and I think once there are more movies done by younger auteur directors fitting into genres like there will be, and hopefully will be with the Neons and the A24s in the future, that we will come back to the Materialists and we'll say, this was on to something that we didn't realize, even though it was maybe a little clumsy in its doing of how it got there.
We will see. And I think the reason this negative wave has come through is that A24's marketing, I think, was really strong. And it was like, this movie's a warm blanket. You're going to love it. It's so cozy.
Anyway, Tanner hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah, so that's all I'll say. Tanner, go see it. Happy birthday, producer Tanner.
Happy birthday, Tanner.
You're the reason I wake up.
But birthday episode next week? Is that what's going on?
We are doing a birthday episode
cool.
next week.
Pitch a movie to the king.
Pitch a movie to the king!
You wanted to do pitch a movie to the king of the apocalypse?
Yes.
No. The king is so much funnier, dude. It's just the king. It's so much funnier.
He
King of the Apocalypse doesn't make sense, truthfully.
That means that you're letting Pitch a movie to the king pull a lot of weight.
You may be giving the king on its own a lot of credit.
I think it is. The king is so funny.
Pitch a movie to the king.
It could be the king of anything.
It could be.
That's what's funny about it. Like, our pitches are going to be so different, and your performance of the king, boy, I can't wait for that.
Pitch a movie to the king.
Maybe work on it before next week.
Okay, I can probably get.
Okay, great.
Anyway.
We'll talk about it. You might get something you love next week.
All right.
Audience
You
speaking.
might get the king.